shall we begin?
All right.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Hail to the king, baby.
What's in the box?
Precious.
I'm vengeance.
This is going to be quite the ride.
And hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Movie Pit Podcast. I am your host, Christian Renteria, and this is where we talk about all the big breaking movie news items of the week. We also talk about the movie trailers and the movies that are coming out in theaters and streaming this weekend. I don't know why I extended it like that. We are still on the road to 200. I think this is episode 196, 197. I forgot. I didn't write it down. But we're getting there. We're getting pretty close. We're also getting pretty close to the anniversary of the podcast, which is at the end of the month, which is pretty cool. I do want to set something up for that, but I'll have to wait and see what I can and what I can't do. So be on the lookout on the social media for that. That's of course all linked down below in the description / show notes area. All right, this week on the podcast, we have a pretty good chunk of news. It does seem relatively light. It's not as light as it was last week. There actually is more stuff that I want to talk about, so we're going to get to that. Once again, trailers that came out. Again, all this at the time of this recording, because obviously last week, the big thing that came out last week was the Fast X trailer, which came out after I had already uploaded the podcast. But and so this week, I don't know where I was going with that, but this week we have a few more trailers that came out. Nothing too out there that I thought I could justify a long trailer spotlight to, because otherwise it would have just been me saying, yeah, this looks good. So another quick trailer talk this week. We're going to start off with that. This week we got the first trailer for the long awaited by some, long in development. Is this movie still happening? Did it get canceled? Did it already come out? No one knew. The remake for Children of the Corn. This has been in the works for a while. It's one of those projects where like, oh, they're done with it. They've been done with it, and for some reason it's been sitting on a shelf somewhere. So it finally got a first trailer. We got a red band and a green band. I saw the red band trailer because that's just what was linked in the article that I read for the movie, and it looks okay. I do remember seeing the first one, the original Children of the Corn. I don't remember too much about it, but this one obviously a little bit more bloodier, presumably from what I can remember. It does also look like there's something else a part of it. It is Stephen King, obviously, and I don't remember there being like, I know it's like kind of supernatural because the kids take over and they want to kill all the adults. But it seems like there's something else supernatural in the movie, and I don't remember that from the original movie, so I don't know if that's just something new they came up with to make it their own, or if it was just something that was in the book and for whatever reason just didn't make it into the original movie. So I don't know. Movie itself looks fine, looks okay. It's coming out in a limited theater release before dropping on VOD like a couple weeks later. So once we get to that, I will obviously remind you guys. But the red band trailer is linked down below because, again, that was the first one I saw. That's just the one I linked. If I remember, I'll put the green band trailer down there as well. I don't know what the difference is because I didn't watch the green band trailer, but they're both available. And the red band trailer itself, besides like a few bloody aspects, it seemed rather tame. I didn't even know it was the red band trailer until I saw that it labeled it as the red band trailer. So that should probably tell you. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm just immune to it and just don't notice it anymore. The next trailer that came out this week was the new trailer for Operation Fortune. This is a movie that also was. I think this trailer came out like 2 years ago, maybe, or maybe even early last year. This is a movie that got delayed for some reason. I don't know why it got delayed, but it did. This is the movie directed by Guy Ritchie, starring Jason Statham, Aubrey Plaza, Josh Hartnett, Cary Elwes, and Hugh Grant. This is about kind of this government agency, this government team with Jason Statham and Aubrey Plaza that's led by Cary Elwes. And they want to take down Hugh Grant's character, who's like this big crime boss, and the only way they can think to get to him is by hiring an actor who is played by Josh Hartnett, and Guy Ritchie action comedy ensues. And I really liked the trailer when it first came out. I think it was like last year or maybe even 2 years ago. And I was really looking forward to it, and for whatever reason, just got delayed. But now it's coming out. It's coming out relatively soon. It's coming out on March 3rd. So they're gonna have to push the marketing thing on this one real fast if they want to make any sort of money because of that. Because obviously it looks pretty good. It does. The first trailer was really good. This one it's kind of similar to the last one, but a little bit shorter. But there you go. And the last trailer that came out was the new Gerard Butler-led action thriller Kandahar. This is about Gerard Butler. He's part of a unit that that goes into the Middle East and stops them from unleashing something or something along the lines. I already forgot what it was. I think they were stopping like some countries' like nuclear program, and it was successful. Problem was he gets found out. Him and his team are burned, and he has to get out of the Middle East with the safe point being Kandahar. He has to make it to Kandahar at an abandoned airport, and that's the mission. So it's like he has to get from point A to point B. So that's kind of what the movie is, and it's Gerard Butler. We can expect good 90s-esque, 80s-esque even action, thrillers from Gerard Butler. And we got a Plane earlier this year, and we'll speak about Plane a little bit right now, and some other movies along the lines as well. So he's found his niche, and he's fairly good at it. So there you go. That comes out a little later this year as well. So those are the trailers. Those are all linked down below in the description/show notes area. I don't usually talk about teasers or like 30-second spots because usually they'll probably play them on TV and stuff. But there was a new 30-second spot for Disney's Little Mermaid, and it's very colorful. Everyone was like, "Where's the color?" And there you go. Disney's like, "Here's your color. Shut up." And we got our very brief first look at Prince Eric. I forgot who played him in the movie. I didn't write it down. We get our very first sort of look at Melissa McCarthy's Ursula. We get to see kind of like her eyes and the top of her head, and hear her cackle, and she does that justice. So obviously we'll wait to see, if that leads to anything, to a bigger trailer or anything like that. I've seen the Little Mermaid trailer in theaters a lot now because I've been going to the theaters a little bit more, but I've been seeing that trailer everywhere. So yeah, I'm assuming we'll probably get a newer trailer sometime, probably very soon, because that movie comes out fairly soon as well, from what I can remember. So there you go. All those, again, linked down below in the description/show notes area. Let us move on to the movie news items of the week. Okay, that's not the only trailers that came out, because apparently 2 more trailers dropped. And I figured one of them would come out because they've been releasing a lot of stuff. And that is a new trailer for John Wick Chapter 4. It's very short. It's like a minute and a half long. It's some stuff that we've seen before with some new footage thrown in there. It keeps looking good. And recently it was also revealed that the movie would be the longest John Wick movie, because it would be like, I think it's somewhere close to almost 3 hours long. And I know I've been on this podcast and I've said that, I'm kind of tired of long movies. I just want like an hour and a half movie. But you know what? I will watch an almost 3 hour long John Wick movie. Maybe that's showing my bias. Who knows? I've also said that if a movie's long for, a good reason, then okay. And John Wick Chapter 4 just happens to fall into that. Is it going to be good? Who knows? That is obviously up for grabs. But for any action lovers like myself, this trailer just gives you even more hyped up than you probably already are. I've mentioned John Wick Chapter 4 is one of my most anticipated movies of the year. It's in my top 5. So I'm really much looking forward to it. It's really good. It's an hour and a half. It's a minute and a half trailer. It shows a lot of cool stuff. It shows kind of the extended sequence of John in the roundabout that we saw in the last trailer. It's kind of an extended sequence of that. You get to see a little bit more characters. We don't really get too much story. We already got the story of the movie. It's like John is fighting someone. He's fighting Bill Skarsgård character to get out of underneath the table's thumb, and he has to challenge him, and if he wins he gets his freedom. And in this one we don't really get the sense of kind of what the timetable is. The last trailer kind of did a better job of that. It's like they're gonna have a duel, and John and him have to reach whatever point they say they have to reach at a certain point. But the last trailer kind of made it seem like the high table was putting all these obstacles in front of John Wick's way. This trailer doesn't give that. It just shows a lot of action. We get some more Donnie Yen action, which is always nice. We get a new character that we haven't seen before. We got a character poster. It's Scott Adkins, who I didn't believe it was him. I'm slightly disappointed, but also slightly, you know what, this is going against type and going against expectation, which is really good. He's in a fat suit. He's kind of in a fat suit, and he's playing like someone, I don't know who he's playing, but he's playing a character named Killa. So there is that. So that's really cool. So I'm looking forward to the movie. This trailer just gets you even more hyped up for what it is. The second trailer that dropped after I kind of already did my first wave of recording is a trailer for Tetris. Everyone's always wondering, like, you know, all these video games are getting movies. It's like, oh, Tetris is getting a movie. How can they make a movie about Tetris? Well, they're not making a movie about the specific game, because obviously Tetris doesn't have a story. They're making a movie about how the kind of the untold story of Tetris and how it came to America and how it came to be one of the most beloved games in history. So the movie kind of follows, looks like he's following this salesman who's played by Taron Egerton, who I kind of get the idea that he's kind of like his down on his luck kind of guy. At least that's kind of how the trailer kind of plays it off. And he ends up playing Tetris at some conference. The game was obviously created by a Russian man who I don't have the name in front of me, but he goes out to Russia in one of the worst times he possibly can. Obviously, it's Soviet Union, Russia, and he goes out there and he's trying to find the creator of Tetris so he can get the rights to Tetris in America, because the Russians own, obviously, everything that there is to know about Tetris. Or, you know, the property that is Tetris anyway. And he's trying to go to America because obviously this is, you know, we see him at the beginning like trying to sell the idea to everybody, and it's pretty cool. Honestly, it's very, very cool that is. So and then the trailer kind of just shows kind of, I guess, the untold story of how this all happens. I'm sure some stuff was dramatized, maybe not. But a lot of crazy stuff happened back in the day, especially during Soviet Union Russia at that time. And it shows Taron Egerton going to Russia and trying to find the guy, and then the Russian authorities just giving him a hard time. And then something happens that sets everything off, and they probably think he's a spy, I'm assuming, and he's on the run. There's a one point, which I really like this part about the trailer, is that they're in a car and it's him and it's the guy who created Tetris. I think that's the guy who's created Tetris, and like two other people in the car with him, and they're driving, and at one point it looks like they're about to crash, and when they do crash, it doesn't show the crash, it shows the crash, but like everything is like pixelated and like blocked out like Tetris. So I thought that was really cool. I don't know if that was just for the trailer or that's going to be in the movie. I think that's really creative in a lot of ways. So I am looking forward to Tetris. I forgot to write down when it comes out, but actually no, it's coming out on March 31st. It's coming out on March 31st on Apple TV Plus. I don't know if this is just one of those things where it's just going to drop exclusively on Apple TV Plus, or it's going to get a limited theater run. Obviously, as we get closer to the release date, I will figure that out. But yeah, that's pretty cool. So I'm very much looking forward to Tetris. I think it looks really good. Taron Egerton's killing it, and I guess he's killing it on Apple TV Plus because he has that series. I think Blackbird, I think that's what it's called, with who else is in there? James Walter, Paul Walter Hauser is in there. He won the Golden Globe for his appearance in there too. So Taron Egerton's killing Tetris and John Wick 4. Those are really good trailers, and yeah, those will be linked down below so you can watch them. All right, back to the normally scheduled, already recorded stuff for the podcast. All right, I mentioned it before, so I'm bringing it up now. The Gerard Butler-led action thriller Plane is getting a sequel. And no, it is not called Planes or Plane 2. It is actually going to be called Ship. And it will not bring back Gerard Butler, but it will bring back his co-star in Plane, Mike Colter, who fans may know as Luke Cage in the Netflix series. The sequel will see Colter's Louis Gaspar hopping on a cargo ship in East Asia to escape the Philippines, only to discover the vessel is being used as a ferry for a human trafficking ring. The search for writers and a director is currently underway. I saw Plane recently. It's fine. Again, it's very reminiscent of like 80s, early 90s action thrillers, and again, like Gerard Butler, that's his niche. He's found his niche, and he's, again, fairly good at it. The character of Mike Colter, I felt in Plane was It was interesting. I felt like he probably could have been given more, and it looks like, I mean, they're talking about giving him more. They're giving him his own sequel, so that's pretty cool. And the movie, I guess it's kind of a spoiler, obviously, that he survives whatever they go through in that movie, but he does end up kind of getting away at the end of the movie, and we don't know, kind of obviously suspecting like, oh, he just gets away and, he can live free. But this may be a direct continuation of Plane, because he's kind of stays behind on the island where he is to get away, and I guess this is just a continuation of that. So we'll see. We'll see if that's any good. Plane was fine. It's a passable movie if you just want to kill some time and watch a mindless action thriller. There you go. That's Plane. All right, moving on. These next two movie news items are all about the golden age of Hollywood. Paul King, the director of the Paddington movies, will direct Sony Pictures' Untitled Fred Astaire drama, which also has Tom Holland set to star as Fred Astaire. This movie will center on the relationship between Fred and his sister Adele. The two were inseparable for more than 20 years, moving out from their Midwestern vaudeville act in the early part of the 20th century to Broadway and even London's East End, which is a very big deal, especially in the 20s. Adele was initially the face of the act, but eventually Fred became the spotlight. Obviously, if you've seen or are familiar with Fred Astaire, he is a big star, and he is one of the names you always bring up with musical comedies, especially during the golden age of Hollywood. The duo did part ways in the early 30s when she got married and wanted to obviously focus on her family, and Fred wanted to, keep doing his thing, and he obviously, again, became one of the big stars in dance musicals. A legend, basically, that we know him today. The script is being rewritten by Lee Hall, who worked with Tom Holland, coincidentally, on the Broadway show, the musical Broadway show of Billy Elliot, or not the Broadway show, the London's East End show, Billy Elliot, from 2008 to 2010. He also wrote movies like the Billy Elliot the movie, which it's a nice little tangent, or not tangent, but just a nice little connection to the next story, War Horse, and he also wrote Rocket Man, so he is familiar with biopics on that end. No word on when production will start, but Paul King just recently finished wrapping Wonka, so he's going to be in the editing bay for that. So presumably after he probably finishes Wonka, he'll probably start working on this. So that's the first Fred Astaire project. The next one is being done through Black Bear International. They have found their leads for the movie because this one is about Fred. This one is titled Fred and Ginger and follows the lives of Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, both who, of course, again, obviously we don't know about Fred. Ginger Rogers was pretty much the other one during the golden age of Hollywood, known for her dance moves and obviously her acting ability as well. The movie will see the complicated partnership and relationship between the two, because obviously the two had very different styles. Playing Fred Astaire in this movie is Jamie Bell, known for playing Billy Elliot in the movie Billy Elliot, and has obviously done multiple things after that. While Margot Qualley will play Ginger Rogers, and Margot Qualley probably best known for the HBO series The Leftovers. Since then, she's had she played the character that the hippie character that Brad Pitt ends up kind of attracting in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. She's also in The Nice Guys. She's been in a bunch of stuff since leaving The Leftovers. Not a bunch of stuff, but she's been in stuff where you probably have seen her face. Jonathan, I'm going to mispronounce his last name. Into Whistle. I don't know if that's how you say his last name. He created the series and directed the series, the Netflix series. I'm Not Okay With This. He's directing off the script by Arash Amel, known for A Private War. So both these projects about Fred Astaire, and obviously he warrants having a movie after him, but he's getting two movies. So done by different companies, obviously. So we'll have to see which one is the better one, because you always got to pick one, right? You always got to pick which one is the better one. You always got to pick which one, do you like Volcano? Do you like, what was the other one called? I can't remember what it was called. I wanted to do a Volcano. I didn't want to go for the typical one of the White House movies. I didn't want to go for like Olympus Has Fallen or White House Down. I wanted to go for like the old like Volcano, and I can't remember what the other one's called. And it's going to annoy me, and I know it's going to happen after I record this, and I don't want to look it up because I'm at work. So I want to get this done so I can get it to editing. So anyway, there you go, the two Fred Astaire movies. Let's move on. So the next movie news item, we have a director debut, or a feature debut, a feature directorial debut, I should say, with I'm going to mispronounce her name, and I apologize for that. Ishana Night Shyamalan. That is the daughter of, yes, M. Night Shyamalan. She is set to make her feature directorial debut with an adaptation of A.M. Shrine's novel, The Watchers, which she will also write. The story follows Mina, a 28-year-old artist who gets stranded in an expansive, untouched forest in Western Ireland. When Mina finds shelter, she unknowingly becomes trapped alongside 3 strangers that are watched and stalked by mysterious creatures each night. The movie will be a family affair, as M. Night will produce the movie through his Bleeding Edge Pictures banner. Filming is expected to start later this year, and the movie has already been given a release date of June 7th, 2024. Ishana does have some movie experience under her belt, having worked for her father on the second unit in his movies of old, and most recently A Knock at the Cabin, but the majority of her experience comes from her father's Apple TV Plus series Servant, where she has written and co-written 10 episodes and directed 6 episodes, 2 of which included season finales. That show has only been going on for 4 years, for 4 seasons. It's currently in its 4th and final season, so she has directed half of the season finales of that show and has written 10 episodes or co-written 10 episodes. That is and directed 6 episodes. That is very, very impressive for her. And she is still relatively young. I think she started working on that show when she was 19. She's 21 right now. So she has a very long future ahead of her if she wants to keep doing this. And I have not seen Servant. I've heard good things about Servant. So I want to check. I have been wanting to check it out. Just haven't gotten a chance to. So yeah, good for her. Honestly, this is pretty cool that she wants to, I don't know if she wants to follow in her father's footsteps, but this is pretty cool nonetheless. So there you go. All right, moving on to the next movie news item. Emma Corrin, known probably now to most people for playing Princess Diana on Netflix's The Crown, landed roles in 2 big projects this week. The first one was Deadpool 3, and the other one is Robert Eggers' remake of Nosferatu. Who she's playing in both movies is unknown, but she will be playing the villain in Deadpool 3. That has been reported to be the case. Corrin will shoot Nosferatu first, as they will start filming next month, with Bill Skarsgård playing the title character of Nosferatu, who becomes obsessed with a young woman. Lily Rose Depp, Nicholas Hoult, and William Dafoe will all co-star. We talked about William Dafoe being cast in Nosferatu, interestingly, because he was actually the character of Nosferatu in a movie in the 90s about the character as well. So that's pretty cool. Deadpool 3 will be directed by Sean Levy, of course, directed Fall Guy and The Adam Project recently, and he will bring back, obviously, Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool / Wade Wilson, and Hugh Jackman will make a surprising and very cool return as Logan Wolverine in the movie. Deadpool 3 also has a release date of November 8th, 2024. Nosferatu currently does not have a release date, but if they're filming this year, we could potentially see it next year, so we can see Emma Corrin on the big screen twice. She has done things since playing, or has been doing things since The Crown has aired. I didn't write those down, but she is still relatively new in Hollywood, so she's getting her big break in 2 very big projects, so that's pretty cool. All right, moving on to the next movie news item. We got some updates, small updates, if you will, on previously announced projects. First one is for I Am Legend. The sequel was actually announced, ironically, last year, this week, or not necessarily this week. It was announced when this news came out. It came out on the exact day when it was announced they were developing a I Am Legend sequel. So literally a year this project was announced, and they haven't updated anything, and they decided to update it on the year anniversary of when it was first announced. So I found that interesting. So the sequel will see Will Smith coming back, which everyone's like, how? How is he coming back? So I guess spoilers for I Am Legend, for a more than 10-year-old movie. He is coming back. Will Smith is coming back because he died at the end of I Am Legend. However, they will be using the alternate ending for I Am Legend, because they shot 2 endings. They shot one and they shot the theatrical one, which we all saw, where he died, and they shot an alternate ending where he lives. And they're going with the alternate ending. I don't know how they're going to do that, because everyone who has seen the movie in theaters knows that wasn't the case. So they're going to have to do some real back turning to try to get. I mean, obviously, I think people will be happy to see Will Smith on the big screen. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe people are still upset about the slap, but they're going to, bringing him back for I Am Legend. It was once the project was announced, it was later announced that Michael B. Jordan will also be appearing in the movie starring in the movie, and that he will also be producing the movie as well. But the sequel updates came from someone involved in the project and someone who was involved in the first one, in Akiva Goldsman. He wrote and produced the first movie, and he will be returning to those duties again for the sequel. The updates is that, again, the sequel will use the alternate ending to I Am Legend, but now we know the sequel will take place, quote, decades after the first one. So he is setting this movie decades afterwards. Obviously, playing into the fact that, Will Smith is older, and also that Michael B. Jordan is in the movie. I don't know what happens. Maybe Michael B. Jordan plays his son, maybe, or just someone else that he runs into. There again, we're talking about the end of the movie. I just spoiled it before. So he sacrificed himself in the theater cut, or in the theater ending, to let two characters survive, to go to a safe haven that they found. So maybe Michael B. Jordan plays someone in that safe haven. We don't know, but we'll obviously see what happens with that. We don't know any other story details. Of course, like I mentioned, we don't know. Jordan's playing. The sequel will reportedly be a priority at Warner Brothers Discovery, especially now that they are working again with Goldsman all over again. Akiva Goldsman left Warner Brothers Discovery for a little bit, and now he's back. Another project that Goldsman updated on is attached to that Warner Brothers Discovery is also holding a priority to, apparently, as he says, is the long-awaited and wanted sequel to Constantine, which will see the return of Keanu Reeves as the DC character. No word if it will be part of the new DCU or if it will be part of DC Elseworlds, which is probably most likely that it will be part of DC Elseworlds. DC Elseworlds is movies involving DC characters that are not attached to the new rebooted DC universe that James Gunn has created. Francis Lawrence is returning to direct, write, and produce. J.J. Abrams is also a part of the project as producer as well. So there you go. Updates on I Am Legend. I don't know if we needed a sequel to I Am Legend, obviously, because the movie ended the way it did. So when it was announced that they would be using the alternate ending, I was like, how are they going to do that? Because people obviously remember the ending they saw in theaters. Not a lot of people still to this day don't know there was an alternate ending where Will Smith survives. So it'll be interesting to see which ending they end up using, or how they, not which ending they end up using, because we know which ending they're using, how they will bring that into the fold, that alternate ending, and playing it out, because again, people saw how the last one ended. Moving on to the big movie news item of the week, at least at the time of this recording. Obviously, if anything drops, I will try to edit in there sneakily or afterwards. But after a successful animated franchise, a TV series, it looks like Universal is taking a page out of Disney's book, because Universal Pictures is developing a live-action adaptation of How to Train Your Dragon. Not only that, Dean DeBlois, I don't know how to say his last name, and I apologize for that, who directed the original animated trilogy, will return as a writer, producer, and director, also marking his first live-action movie that he's directing. And Universal is so confident that they have given the How to Train Your Dragon live-action adaptation a March 14th, 2025 release. That is an extremely big deal. The movies, in case you don't know, took the books of Kristen Caldwell as a jumping off point, which followed a young and unheroic Viking boy named Hiccup and his special friendship with an injured dragon he nurses back to health named Toothless. The movies are being labeled, or were labeled, as coming of age movies, especially with the themes that they employed. There was themes of a lost parent, of first loves, of obviously just building a friendship and having a friendship with someone who is different from you. The three movies were nominated for Best Animated Feature at the Oscars. The first movie, besides being nominated for Best Animated Project, also was nominated for Best Score. That's pretty cool. I know it's probably the first time, but it's very rare when an animated movie gets nominated for Best Score, because it's usually always the live action ones. The trilogy has grossed over $1.6 billion, that is billion with a B, at the box office, and casting is currently underway. So again, making sense that they would probably want to try to do this, especially with the, all the rage with dragons and stuff. And, it's probably, instead of making another animated movie, they thought, let's do something different and let's do it live action. Disney had early success with these, and recently they have kind of fallen out. There probably isn't just an audience there anymore, or just because the projects they're choosing are just not doing, or just, not clicking with the audience, or maybe, just maybe, fans are tired of seeing their animated movies that they, love being turned into live action movies that don't look good. So there is that. But DreamWorks, obviously, DreamWorks Animation was the company behind How to Train Your Dragon, and it was one of the most successful franchises there. Obviously, Shrek being the other ones, and even Kung Fu Panda. So DreamWorks, they just have, as the kids say, they got bangers. They just straight hits after hits. Obviously, the Shrek series, Kung Fu Panda, and How to Train Your Dragon. So, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility of saying that if they can get How to Train Your Dragon to work as a live action movie, will they make a live action Kung Fu Panda? Will they make a live action? I think it'd be harder. I think Kung Fu Panda is safe because there's no human characters in Kung Fu Panda. There are human characters in Shrek. And obviously the CG technology, the CG is obviously very, very good. And one of the reasons, from what I read, it sounded like Universal and the director, the Blois, again, I don't know if I'm saying his last name right. They were very worried about turning it into a live action because of the dragon designs, because obviously they're very different from the typical dragon designs that we see in media today, like Game of Thrones or something like that. So they were very worried about that. That was the thing they were really worried about. But I guess they found the way and figured it out to, obviously keep the spirit of what the animated movies were and bring that into live action, which I think, would have been a very big thing that they were doing that. But I think bringing him back as the writer, producer, and director, him going through this trilogy, knowing if they're going to turn all three movies, maybe knowing if they're going to turn all three movies, or the possibility of them turning all three of them into movies, bringing him back is a huge step in that. And I think that's a really good call. And if they were going to do that, I think that was the best way to do it. Will it happen? I don't know. Will it work? That is the better question. And look, I'm going to say something that I should not say on the podcast, which if you listen to this podcast enough, whenever I say that, that usually, probably leads to this. I've never seen How to Train Your Dragon. I have never seen the movies. For whatever reason, quiet down, but let me finish. For whatever reason, I just never went to go watch it. And it wasn't because they were animated movies or because they're kiddie movies. I go watch the Disney movies. I go watch the Pixar movies. I watched all the Shrek movies in theaters. So I have no problem with watching an animated movie, especially these movies. I went to go watch Despicable Me 2 in the movie theater. I think it was me and my brother, and we were the only adults in there that didn't have a kid with us. So, which sounds very weird. I can't believe I admitted that. Anyway, I've never seen the How to Train Your Dragon movies. I think now that obviously it's going to be turned into a live action movie, I obviously want to watch them. I've always said good things about them. They're always right there. So it was like, I got to watch these movies. And then obviously something else comes out and it gets in the way. But I'm going to fix that. I promise. I'm going to fix that. They always look good and they look great. They look awesome. It's not because I didn't think they look dumb or anything like that. They looked amazing. I want to go watch these movies. I just never did it. So will the live action work? I don't know. Like I mentioned earlier, Disney, had some early success. They have, immediate success in between. But recently, those live action movies just haven't been, doing great. They dropped Pinocchio on Disney Plus, and that kind of came and went. No one's talking about it besides, talking about how bad it was. Because then they had the Guillermo del Toro Pinocchio movie that came out, and everyone liked that one more. What was the other one before Pinocchio? I can't remember what the other one before Pinocchio was. But they have these new ones. They have The Little Mermaid, which a lot of people are excited about. And there's a lot of people that are upset about because Ariel's not white because they're racist. I mean, I'm just putting it out there. I mean, the two are very correlated. But they have that. And then they have the Snow White adaptation coming out, I think, next year. So, yeah, I don't know. I think Disney... the live action format, Disney's showing no signs of stopping it. Obviously, they're doing a lot more. They're doing Hercules too. They show zero signs of stopping to doing live action adaptations, whether they work or not. And I think maybe they need to. I think hopefully that they are seeing that and they are doing everything they can to make these movies good and make them potentially their own. Because obviously, just if I wanted to watch, The Little Mermaid, I would just watch the animated version of it. But this new one looks it doesn't look too bad. We haven't seen a lot of it. That's the thing. It's really hard to gauge. But in terms of Halle Berry playing Ariel in the movie, the little parts that we've heard her sing, and then this new 30-second spot that we see where it's a lot more colorful and she's going around and swimming and stuff, looks like a faithful adaptation. It looks okay. So obviously we have to wait and see on that. But for this one, I think it's harder for this one for How to Train Your Dragon, just because the characters, from what I've seen, obviously, and like trailers and media and stuff, they're just it's so different. And I think even the main character, Hiccup, who I think Jay Baruchel voices in the movie. Yeah, Jay Baruchel voices him in the movies. I think he only has one leg. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see the design of the dragons, because I've seen the design of the dragons, and they're all very, very different. Again, not the typical dragon designs that we usually see in media today, in movies and TV shows and what have you. So I'm very interested in seeing what they do and how they do it, and whether or not they're successful in bringing that vibe and love. That obviously they're going to bring the love, but it's going to be very interesting to see how that transitions, because obviously sometimes doing live action adaptations of stuff that has been done mainly through animation has been a mixed bag, and sometimes they're good, sometimes they're really good, sometimes they're awesome, sometimes they're not. So hopefully this is more on the good side and not the bad side. Okay, that is all the movie news that I have, at least at the time of this recording. Obviously, if anything big drops, I'll drop it right here. If not, let us move on to the movies that are coming out in theaters this weekend and streaming for all your viewing pleasures.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
All right, your streaming movies. I only found one, and I don't know if that can even be right. So I apologize if I missed anything coming out in streaming. But I only found one, and it is actually something that came out in theaters, limited theaters, last week. I mentioned it. It's Sharper. This is coming out on Apple TV+. It's Sebastian Stan, Justice Smith, John Lithgow, and Julianne Moore. It's about a con artist who takes on Manhattan's billionaires. Two of them happen to be his own parents. If there is a streaming movie that came out or anything on VOD that I managed to forget, I apologize. Infinity Pool came out. Infinity Pool, the new movie by David Cronenberg's son, came out on VOD. I literally just remember. I was like, I didn't need to put that down. I didn't, but I just remembered it. So that's coming out. If you didn't see it in theaters, it's Infinity Pool. I hear it's very Cronenberg-esque. Obviously, it's a son, so I guess his son has picked up his father's intuitions. And intuitions, that's not the word I wanted to use. Anyway, in theaters, there's two movies that came out already. The first one was the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey movie, the horror Winnie the Pooh movie that came out that everyone went crazy about when they saw the trailers and pictures and stuff. That came out in theaters on the 15th. I don't know if it's still going to be in theaters, so if it's still in your theaters and you want to go watch that, more power to you. There you go. Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey is already out. The other movie that's already out this week is Marlowe. This is the new movie with Liam Neeson. In the late 1930s Bay City, a brooding, down-on-his-luck detective is hired to find the ex-lover of a glamorous heiress. Dan Kruger plays that heiress. Cast is great. Danny Houston, Alan Cumming, Daniela Manquire, Jessica Lange is in there as well. This is based off a novel by Raymond Chandler. It's the 11th screen version of Philip Marlowe. There were previous versions. There's even one movie called The Marlowe itself, with James Garner playing the character, but this, I don't think that has any correlation with what's going on here. The movie was written by William Monahan, one of the writers Parted and Kingdom of Heaven. It looks good. I saw the trailer. I even saw the trailer on the big screen too. I think when I went to go watch Knock at the Cabin. It looks pretty good. It does. It's Liam Neeson doing his thing, but being a detective and stuff. So that's pretty cool. So if you want to go watch that, those two movies are already out. Coming out at the end of the week, here is a remastered 4K re-release of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I'm definitely going to try to watch this because I really love that movie. I saw it when I was young, and it just left such an impression on me, and I really, really like that movie. And it's a remastered 4K re-release. I think it's getting a limited release with its obviously re-release, so be on the lookout for that if that is the case, and if you live in the area where they'll be re-releasing it. The next two movies. The first one is Of an Age. This is set in the summer of 1999. An 18-year-old Serbian-born Australian amateur ballroom dancer experiences an unexpected and intense 24-hour romance with a friend's older brother. This is obviously a foreign language movie, but it's getting a very big limited release this week. And then, of course, the big movie coming out this week, the one that everyone's talking about, the one that everyone is really talking about because apparently everyone really cares about the Rotten Tomato scores now, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, obviously the third Ant-Man movie, the first movie in Marvel's Phase 5 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We got Jonathan Majors playing Kang. Everyone is praising him. Everyone's saying he's the best thing in the movie. There's a lot of mixed reactions to the movie coming out. Obviously, again, like I mentioned, apparently everyone suddenly cares about the Rotten Tomatoes score of a movie, especially a Marvel movie, even though, for years people have been saying, oh, Rotten Tomatoes is paid off by Marvel and by Disney so they can, have all this movies. Like, shut up. Just, no. Okay? It's also, you guys never liked the Ant-Man movies. So why is everyone all of a sudden like, oh no, like, what's going on? Oh, of course Ant-Man sucks. Of course the MCU's in shambles. Just shut up. Just shut up. All right? I'm not even a Marvel shill. All right, I'm not that much of a Marvel show. I will call out Marvel if they do things that, is warranted. But just shut up. I'm still excited to go watch this movie. All right, I don't have superhero fatigue. I will go watch every probably won't say every superhero movie, but the ones that look good anyway, especially the Marvel movies. I'm gonna go watch them. I'm invested. I've put years and years into this, into these movies. I'm gonna go watch them. I don't care if they're bad. Then they're bad. But you know what? What's gonna happen? I'm gonna have a good time at these movies, most likely. So you can say what you want, but I don't care. I'm going to go watch this movie. I'm excited for this movie. A lot of people also seem to be excited. Again, it's a very mixed reaction, but I've seen a little bit more on the positive side than on the negative side. So I don't know if that's just the people that I'm following. Obviously, I don't usually follow or I don't usually go follow that rabbit hole of press of reactions at world premieres because sometimes something slips and people say a spoiler in there, and I don't want to be spoiled because I don't like being spoiled. Obviously, I've said that multiple times. So I'm looking forward to it. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Like I mentioned, Jonathan Majors is getting a lot of praise as Kang, saying that he is potentially the best next Marvel big and great Marvel villain. So he's getting an Avengers movie named after him, so he better be good, obviously, especially if they're saying that. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't care what anybody says. Suddenly people care about Rotten Tomato scores, and that's just really dumb. All right. There you go. Those are your movies coming out this week. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, Of an Age, the re-release, remastered 4K, the remastered 4K re-release, rather, of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Movies already out in theaters, Marlowe and Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and on streaming is Sharper. Again, if there was another streaming movie that I missed, I apologize for that. I can't catch everything, guys. It's just, as much as I like to say that I can and that I do, I don't. I really don't. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. I very much appreciate it. You guys are awesome. You guys are great. No matter where you're listening to, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, Anchor, Good Pods, YouTube, no matter where you're listening to, I very much Apple Podcasts, no matter where you're listening to, I very much appreciate it. If you leave a like and subscribe on YouTube, subscribe to the podcast on the other platforms, and even leave me a rating and review, that would be very much appreciated. That just shows how much you really care about this podcast. That just shows that you appreciate the work I'm putting in to this podcast, because I do. It doesn't feel like it sometimes, but I do put a lot of work into these podcasts as much as I can. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. I very much appreciate it. Please be safe. Stay safe out there. If you're in the path of like this really nasty snowstorm that's coming, I'm very much on the outer edge of it, but I know there's a lot of people that are going to be hit really hard. So if you're in that path, obviously, be careful. And, I don't like getting political on the podcast. I don't like bringing, public events into anything because, obviously this is a movie podcast and I'm trying to, distract you from everything and give you guys the news. But it would be, I wouldn't be doing what I think is right if I didn't mention, that my thoughts were with everybody that was affected by the Michigan State incident that happened this week. And obviously anybody who has been affected or knows of someone that has been affected by the earthquakes over in overseas. So I just wanted to take a second and just say, everyone, I'm thinking of everyone, and you guys are all in my thoughts. And whether you know someone or whether you were personally affected because you know someone or anything along those lines, I just know that I am thinking about you, and my thoughts are with you and with your families and everything like that. So But thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. There's no easy way to segue out of that one. So just thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. I will see you guys next week. The road to 200 continues. I think even next week might even be the anniversary. No, the anniversary is actually on a Monday. So I'll figure something out. I will let you guys know on social media for that. So yeah, thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. And as always, go watch some movies.
Whoop whoop! Yeah! Give it up! Movies!